I've been here in Chicago I came here in 1983. So I've been here for many, many years. And we came here to Chicago because Young Parent School actually came here to Chicago first. So my mom came first, that was Young Dad, because my mom's a retired nurse. So she came here first, and then my dad, and then after that, it's my siblings. The oldest ones first, and then eventually it went down to the last three girls in the family. So why Chicago? It's the place where my parents settled, and you know, we could have moved after we got here. We could have moved to California, you know, or someplace warmer. But the fact of the matter is, Chicago is a hometown. I mean, once you lived in Chicago, it's such a beautiful city. It's a beautiful place, and you know, it's so welcoming. And not only that, I mean, there's a big Filipino community in Chicago. So it's not like a Chinatown or a California, but it's still a good representation of Filipinos here in Chicago. In terms of my line of work, so I'm a lawyer. I'm a litigation attorney, and I've been an attorney for 24 years. In practice law includes commercial transactions, business transactions, real estate litigation, and then a lot of representing multinational corporations, small to medium-sized companies, and then, you know, mom and dad pops, businesses and individual owners. I also do real estate, so I deal with commercial and real estate transactions, both commercial and residential as well. You know, when Typhoon Haiyan actually happened in the Philippines, that was such a devastating event. And even though we're all here, it's U.S., we saw the effect, the devastation, how much it killed, and I mean, there's just so much destruction that happened in Tacloban City. So when that happened, news broke out. It was all over CNN, you know, BBC, every major news agency that you could think of. I thought about how difficult it is in the Philippines and how difficult it was and how difficult it would be for people to actually start rebuilding their lives. And still, at this point, I know people are still rebuilding. So we actually ended up, you know, I called a group of friends, really close friends, and I said, you know, we have to do something. We have to do something to help out because we're here and we're in a position where we can help out people. So from that core group of people, we were able to, you know, reach to our networks. And then from that network, we were able to do a host committee. And I think we have a list, and I think I gave you a copy of the flyer. We have a list of 100 people on that host committee. And then in addition to that, I reached out to a lot of the public officials who I know, and to be able to either attend the event or host, lend us their name so that we can actually show to everybody that these are politicians who are willing to lend their names and help us. So we did that, and we actually did that in a matter of, you know, putting it together in like 2 weeks. We held that event. I think we held that event November 23rd at the White Eagle. And we hosted it at a place where it was the cheapest, so that we wanted to make sure that the money that we were raising actually go to the people in, you know, in the Philippines where it was affected. So yung organizations that we had made beneficiaries ng fundraising, American Red Cross, Philippine Red Cross, CARE Philippines, and Gawad Kalinga. So yung mga tao, what they did was they made the checks payable to those organizations. And from there, we were able to deliver. I think the one for American Red Cross and Philippine Red Cross, we asked our Consul General then, Conjan Leo Herrera Lim, to actually deliver those to the Philippines. And then for the others, we were able to mail or send out to their representatives here. So all in all, we raised, in that short span of time, we raised about $34,000. And the only expense that we had at that time is really to just pay the White Eagle the event place for, the food that we raised, but everything else went to, to those organizations to help out in the Philippines. Right, and that's a very good point. As you can see also on the host committee list, a lot of the host committee members who said yes would like to help out, they're non-Filipinos. A lot of Filipinos came, but there were a lot of non-Filipinos. There were a lot of other people from other Asian cultures, other Asian countries. We had organizations who came in, and their members actually came in as well. I had a lot of people from the legal community because I was past president of the Chicago Bar Association. So I pulled in also from that network of mine. A lot of them who couldn't attend gave money, but those who were able to attend attended the event. So it was a great event because it really showed the compassion that people had for the Filipinos and for anything that tragic, for people to come out and like work together and help. It was a shock. I think people realized. Let me backtrack. People didn't realize how bad it was until they started showing like a day later, because it took a while to actually see the photos, and then they started showing pictures, and they started showing the devastation. They started showing the numbers of the death toll, and it kept going up and up and up and up. It was heartbreaking. It was difficult for a lot of people because I think a lot of them had relatives in those areas as well. So you could really see the Filipino community just, devastated, and everyone's asking, how can we help? How can we help? So the need to help was there, and I think that's what makes, the Philippine culture and Filipinos a really, really good culture and really good people. And one point also is I have an uncle and his family who actually lived close by, not particularly in the region that was in Tacloban City, but in a city next to it. And we were trying to get a hold of him. We didn't know if they made it or not, but we didn't hear from them for like a week. And we thought of the worst. If you don't hear from someone for a week, you just think of the worst when it happens. I have a sister in the Philippines, and luckily and thankfully, he was able to communicate with her and let her know that we're okay. But that was the last communication we had from him. So with that, it was very uplifting to know that he and his family were actually okay. But I can only imagine for people who really had relatives who perished, how difficult it would have been. We're very excited that President Aquino is actually coming here, and I can't think of a current sitting president actually visiting here in Chicago. So to us, it's such a great honor to be visited by President Aquino here, considering also that Chicago, we have one of the highest Filipino population in the U.S., and it's a good close community. I think this is the first time that I've actually really seen a flurry of activity from, the Filipino community, from community leaders saying, hey, the president is coming. Are you coming? I've got tickets. Can you come? And I'm like, no, I'm already going. So it's like from every part, from every community organization, from every angle, it's like this communication that president is coming, we gotta be there. And we want to be able to show the president that he is welcome, and it's such a great honor to actually see him and meet with him on May 6th. Yes. I think the president, first of all, President Aquino has done personally, I think he's done a really great job in terms of raising the visibility of, the Philippines in the world. Two, the fact that the Philippines is an investment-grade country, and he was able to really raise the credit rating and the investment standards for the Philippines so that foreign investors can actually feel comfortable investing in the Philippines. We need that in our economy and in the Philippines economy. So what would I like to hear from him? I think I'd like to be able to hear, how well the Philippines is growing. People would like to see and hear the economic status, and projected like maybe 5, 10 years, or in the next few years, what he thinks would be worthwhile projects or infrastructure development, or investments that the Philippines will be making, both in the Philippines and maybe outside internationally. I'd like to also have, I know it's a lot, but it would be great if maybe the President can also address how he can utilize the Filipinos who are abroad, who are actually here, who would like to be able to help with regards to the development, economic development of the Philippines, or in one way, shape, or form, whatever little thing we can do to help out here. I mean, it would be great, for the President to let us know how we can do that, because there's a lot of professionals in the U.S. who would like to maybe invest in the Philippines, but it may not have $1 million to invest, but smaller amounts that they can invest and help out. For the economic development, I think it would be great if he could really continue to make the credit rating keep going up. And I think that goes a lot with increased revenues and debt reduction, transparency. I think he's done a great job with making everything transparent, rooting out, corruption. I think that's a big part of it for any investor to actually really go to the Philippines. They need to have that confidence that they can deal in good faith with, the government of the Philippines. I think infrastructure-wise, I don't know, how old the infrastructure in the Philippines, but it's a developing country. It would be really great to invest in a lot of infrastructure in there so that people will be more comfortable, to come to the Philippines. I was telling you that when I was president of the Chicago Bar, I brought a delegation from the Chicago Bar Association made up of lawyers and judges to the Philippines to really expose them to the Philippines. And everyone who came loved it, and they would like to come back. But it's those little things that if we can continue to expose the Philippines to non-Filipinos and have them realize that it's a really nice country, it's a beautiful country, beautiful people, and that it's a safe place for them to go to, I think that's a good message to really get out to. So tourism, obviously, is a good, an important part of getting people to get to the Philippines.